My name is Joel Granger. I'm 39. Public high school teacher. American history, nothing fancy. I've lived in the same one-story ranch house in Boise, Idaho for 12 years. Same job, same neighborhood, same wife. Or so I thought. Mara and I had what people called a quiet kind of marriage. That's polite code for uneventful. I used to think that was good. Boring meant stable. It meant no police calls, no credit card debt, no bar fights, no side chicks, no drama. But turns out, Mara liked drama. She just didn't like sharing it with me. It started with her laugh. Used to be loud, belly deep. The kind that came from the gut. Then one day it got shallow. Like she was acting amused, not actually feeling it. You don't realize how long someone's been drifting away until you realize you're the only one still trying to stay in place. She started locking her phone. No big deal, people want privacy. But then she changed her password. Again, and again, every month. And every time I asked her what she was watching in bed, it was some documentary. Even when the screen glowed with the unmistakable sheen of a private chat. Her password used to be Otis, our dog. Then it was Kingsley, which I later learned was not some new rescue animal she was following on Instagram. It was him, Kingsley Ward. Amateur photographer. Gym type. Bad facial hair. Good abs. Smug face. Local. The kind of guy who posts shirtless pics with captions like, "Some see sweat. I see discipline." The type Mara once swore she found so cringe it hurts. Now she was in his comment section every day. I found out everything one night when she fell asleep on the couch. I don't snoop. But something in me said check her iPad. Same Apple ID. Same everything. And there it was. Messages. Dozens. Weeks of threads. He called her M. She called him K. I called her a damn fool under my breath as I scrolled through things I never expected to see. She said I was kind, but numb. Said I was safe, but small. Said sex with me was like pressing repeat on a boring song. And that Kingsley made her feel like a living thing again. Nice. I didn't throw the iPad. Didn't wake her up. Didn't scream. I went to the garage. Sat in my truck for 2 hours, just breathing and thinking. Then I wrote 3 words on a sticky note. Watch. Document. Wait. I wasn't going to explode. I was going to dismantle. No screaming match. No scene. I'd ruin her the way she ruined our marriage. Slow, private, thorough. I'd make her feel small in the exact places she thought she was clever. Because here's the thing. Mara didn't cheat because she was unhappy. She cheated because she wanted more attention. She wanted the high of being desired again. The ego hit. The thrill of being someone's fantasy. She forgot that fantasies end. And when they do, all that's left is the cost. Mara kept walking through the house like nothing had changed. She still made oatmeal every morning. Still left her hairbrush on my sink. Still asked me to take out the recycling. She had no idea I knew she was sleeping with a guy who couldn't spell conscience if you spotted him the first 6 letters. She was in love with the idea of someone else. And I was going to make her hate the reality of herself. I started with the photos. She'd sent him dozens. Not graphic, but private. Lingerie in our bedroom. One from the bathtub. Her feet on the dashboard of his car with the caption, "Yours." I copied them. All of them. Sorted by date. Then I used a dummy Instagram profile. Female, no posts, no followers, and followed him. Within 2 hours, he followed back. Thirsty guys always do. I waited a day, then messaged him from that account. "You like married women? Or just the ones dumb enough to give you ammo?" He replied with a laugh emoji and a who dis. I sent back one photo, Mara in our bed, wearing a t-shirt with my alma mater on it. He went silent, then blocked the account. Perfect. He was rattled, which meant he'd do what cowards do. Ghost her, then try to pretend it never happened. I knew Mara. Knew how she responded to abandonment. It would start with self-doubt, then panic, then a need to reassert control. But I wasn't done. I logged into our shared Netflix account, the one she thought I never used. She had a separate profile labeled self-care. That was the one she used when she was at yoga for 3-hour sessions with Kingsley. I renamed it. He's not worth it. She noticed the next day. "Did you mess with my Netflix profile?" she asked at dinner. "No," I said. "Probably a glitch." She looked at me like she didn't believe it, but also didn't want to ask why I might do it. See, Mara was smart, but not clever. And revenge isn't about being angry. It's about being precise. I started logging into her work email from our home laptop. She never logged out. Never even changed the password. Same as always, Otis 2012. She had 3 school events coming up, 2 of which she was speaking at. I printed her private messages, only one thread. Just the part where she told Kingsley, teaching is just what I do to feel smart. What I really want is to be worshipped. Classy. I dropped it, printed, neatly stapled, into the suggestion box at her school under a fake parent name. Just enough to get tongues moving. Next came her sister. They talked weekly. I never interfered with that relationship. But Mara had told her that things with Joel are distant. But I'm trying. I changed that narrative. I texted her sister from a new number, pretending to be a woman named Lee. I wrote, "If I were you, I'd ask Mara why she's meeting Kay at the Redfield and every other Thursday. I used to be her friend. Not anymore." No response. But I saw Mara pacing in the hallway the next night after a call that ended with, "You're seriously going to bring that up now?" She slammed her phone on the counter. I asked, "Everything okay?" "Fine," she snapped. She wasn't ready to admit anything. Not yet. But I wasn't rushing. Because my plan didn't end with exposure. It ended with emptiness. She wanted attention. Applause. Adoration. I was going to make sure no one clapped when the curtain fell. If you'd walked into our kitchen that Tuesday morning, you'd think nothing had changed. Mara still made her kale smoothie. Still hummed that off-key song she pretended was her morning mantra. Still wore my hoodie like it meant something. She was living inside the shell of a marriage she'd already hollowed out. I just let her. Because the best traps don't spring. They collapse, underweight the target never realizes they're carrying. Next move, social isolation. Her best friend? Dana. Yoga buddy, wine confidant. The one she called when she needed someone to validate her self-victimization. So I sent Dana an anonymous message. No drama. Just a few screenshots. Mara and Kingsley laughing over wine. Mara in the passenger seat of his truck. Captioned, "Should I tell Joel? Or will you?" Dana didn't reply. But she did block Mara on everything within 48 hours. Mara noticed. "Dana's not answering," she said, frowning into her phone. "She's acting weird." I shrugged. "You guys argue?" "No," she said. "I don't know what happened." That was the point. I wanted her confused. Next, I planted the seed at her work. Remember the message she wrote to Kingsley? I pretend to care about half these students just to survive the day. I printed that one. No context. Left it folded inside her department mailbox. No note. No signature. By the end of the week, her principal had a conversation. She came home tight-lipped. Poured wine she didn't sip. "People are reading into things," she muttered. I didn't ask. Because by now, she was unraveling without help. And the guilt? She couldn't locate the source. She suspected someone was onto her, but not me. I was too quiet. Too normal. Still paying bills. Still saying good morning. Still walking Otis. But I was erasing her support system one layer at a time. That's when I gave her just enough hope to make the next phase hurt. I suggested we take a weekend trip. Just the 2 of us. "Clear the air," I said. Her eyes lit up. "Really?" "Yeah," I said. "Maybe we got off track." She agreed without hesitation.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing experience, but we really need your support, namely a subscription to the channel, which can make it possible to hire a professional voice actor and make the best content for you.
Of course she did. She thought she was winning me back, pulling the wool back over my eyes. We drove to a cabin near McCall. Rented for 2 nights. Beautiful view. Fireplace. The works. She cooked the first night. We drank. Laughed. She touched my hand like she remembered how. And then, when we were sitting by the fire, I looked her in the eyes and said, "When did you start lying to me, Mara?" She blinked. "What?" "I've known for 5 months," I said calmly. "Kingsley. The texts. The pictures. The hotel. All of it." She froze. I didn't shout. Didn't throw anything. I just let the silence stretch. She started to shake. "Joel? Who?" "No," I said. "You don't get to start now." She cried. Of course she did. But I wasn't there for her tears. I stood, pulled out a small folder, dropped it in her lap. Inside? Copies of everything. Photos. Messages. Testimonies. A list of names I'd quietly shared it with. She flipped through it like it might catch fire. And then I said the part she never expected. "This isn't a breakup, Mara. This is a reckoning. I'm not leaving you angry. I'm leaving you known." I walked out, got in the car, drove back alone, left her in that cabin, staring at the version of herself she'd worked so hard to hide. Let her sit with it. Because the worst punishment isn't public shame. It's private recognition. And Mara? She'd just been introduced to her real self. Mara came back from the cabin a day later than I did. Alone. Silent. She walked into the house like someone had replaced her bones with glass. No slamming doors. No demands. Just that haunted stare of someone who realized too late that the whole world had stopped pretending with her. And me? I made dinner. Didn't say a word. Just left her plate on the table and went back to grading essays about the Constitution and betrayal, which felt poetic if not a little too on the nose. For days, she didn't speak more than a sentence at a time. I think she was waiting for the explosion, for the emotional napalm she assumed came next. But I didn't give it to her. I was too busy listening. To the silence on her phone. To the friends who no longer texted. To the work calls that stopped coming after her mental health leave was quietly made permanent. Then came the email. Her sister. Subject line. Just say the truth. Short and brutal. She'd seen the screenshots. She'd heard from Dana. She was done playing the sister role if Mara couldn't be an adult. Mara sat at the table and sobbed for an hour that night. I didn't interrupt. Because I knew those weren't tears of guilt. They were tears of exposure. Kingsley had already ghosted her. Classic. He went silent after I sent him one last message from a different burner account. Want to keep playing with married women? Or do you want your girlfriend to see what you do on Thursdays? He vanished faster than Mara could type. Why are you being distant? Now she had nothing. No one. She tried to patch things up one more time. Cornered me in the hallway like we were in a high school melodrama. I messed up, she said. But I didn't mean to lose you. You didn't lose me, I said. You threw me away. She reached for my arm. We can fix this. No, I said. You fix broken. You don't fix demolished. I left that night. Moved into a small place I'd already leased 3 weeks earlier under a new name. Quiet, clean, mine. I didn't tell her where I was going. Didn't block her. Didn't need to. Because nothing kills someone like Mara faster than being left with no one to perform for. She tried a few more times. Emails. Voice messages. The last one was just 7 words. I don't even recognize myself anymore. That was the only one I listened to twice. Because it meant the plan worked. I didn't destroy her life. I showed it to her, unfiltered, unedited, unspun. I made her sit in the rubble and realize she lit the match. The hardest part wasn't leaving. It was remembering how to exist without looking over my shoulder. Mara had made our life into a stage play, small scripts, big pauses, lines fed through clenched teeth. It took time to unlearn that silence wasn't always suspicious, that my own thoughts weren't a threat. I moved into a modest condo on the east side of Boise. 2 bedrooms, wide windows, cheap carpet. I furnished it myself. Took my time. Chose a couch not because it looked good on Instagram, but because it was comfortable. That became my theme, comfort over performance. I didn't rush to date. Didn't flood my nights with distractions. I ran. I read. I learned how to cook something beyond microwave dinners. I didn't try to become someone new. I just stopped pretending I was ever what Mara said I was, safe but small. She called me that in one of her texts to Kingsley, like stability was a flaw. Like being dependable was something to grow bored of. Turns out, it was the only thing worth being. I started volunteering at a local GED program, helping people rewrite their stories. People who'd been thrown away, underestimated. I didn't tell them my story. I didn't need to. They could tell I understood what it felt like to be misjudged. One afternoon, a woman named Tasha, late 30s, raising 2 kids alone, asked me, "Why are you so good at listening?" I smiled. Because for a long time, I wasn't heard. We shared coffee a few times. Talked about books, trust, real life. Nothing more. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. No strings. No performative sympathy. Just presence. Meanwhile, Mara? She faded. I didn't stalk her online. I didn't ask mutuals. I didn't care. But I still heard things. She'd resigned from her job officially. Took a sabbatical to focus on mental health. Her social media became more quotes than photos. The kind of vague pain-drenched posts that begged for comments like, "Stay strong," and "You got this." I never liked those comments. Because they always came too late. And Mara? She didn't want healing. She wanted the image of being wronged. But the silence I gave her wasn't punishment. It was the first honest mirror she'd ever had. And the beauty of it? She couldn't argue with it. There were no edits. No explanations. Just absence. And me? I didn't need justice anymore. I didn't need validation. I just needed space to live in a version of myself that wasn't defined by her disappointment. So that's what I did. Woke up early, made strong coffee, read poetry I used to think was soft. And for the first time in years, I liked the man I saw in the mirror. Some people think revenge is fire. Explosive. Loud. Final. They picture you storming out, keys flying, accusations hurled like grenades, and slamming the door so hard it leaves a dent. But the best kind of revenge is quiet. It's not rage. It's removal. It's giving someone the luxury of their consequences and choosing not to stay and watch them squirm in it. Mara hasn't contacted me in months. I think even she knew the script was over. She used to thrive on control, on knowing the angle, managing the spin. But when your name stops showing up in someone's thoughts, there's nothing left to manipulate. And I made sure of that. She burned our marriage for novelty. I turned her novelty into dust. Every lie, every slick smile, every time she said, "You're just too nice," I folded into fuel. And then I walked away before the fire even finished burning. But I didn't carry it with me. I buried it in the ground where she dropped me. She used to say I was predictable. You know what's funny? That's exactly how I beat her. She never thought I'd stay calm. Never thought I'd have a plan. Never thought I'd know how to hurt her without ever touching her. Never thought I'd do it without raising my voice or my hand or my profile. But that's the difference between noise and impact. Noise is what you make when you're desperate to be noticed. Impact? That's what stays after you've already left the room. And now, I live in a home I chose. Sleep in a bed that feels clean again. I don't flinch when my phone buzzes. I don't scroll old pictures wondering where it went wrong. Because I know where it went wrong. And I also know I had the courage to look it in the eye and leave. I've become someone I don't have to explain. And that's the sweetest revenge of all. Not becoming better to make her jealous. Not showing off to make her regret. Just not needing her to feel anything about me ever again. I hope she's okay. But I don't care if she isn't. I hope she changes. But I'm fine if she doesn't. Because my healing was never about her. It was about no longer needing to define myself in opposition to a woman who couldn't even define what she wanted. So if she ever drives past my place, wondering if I still think about her, she should know. I do. Occasionally. In the same way you remember the sound a smoke alarm makes when it goes off at 3 a.m. Unwanted, brief, and already handled.
What do you think of the story? Write in the comments.